Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Francisco, and I am with my co-hosts, plural. We got Dennis Bithoulkas down in San Diego and Jon Reed in Hollywood, California. Guys, what is up?
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Monday. Happy X-Men Day. Yay. Well, okay, first of all, I have to say, this is all happening under kind of a cloud of horrible shit happening all day long, like famous people we love dying and huge massacres in the Vegas shooting happened the day of the Gifted premiere. So I just wanted to just say that right now, like anyone who's in Vegas, it's horrible shit going on. I hope everyone is okay, and everyone who isn't, our hearts go out to you. But we're trying to do a little bit of uplifting with talking about, I think, an episode of TV that I, at least, really enjoyed, even with all this stuff going on in the background.
This was we're here for escapism. This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. And we are recapping The Gifted, episode 1, Exposed, directed by Bryan Singer and written by Matt Nix, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So
maybe my favorite thing Bryan Singer has ever done, and I think it's because he was just a guy shooting something that Matt Nix was really in charge of. So
I actually think that the studio execs might have reined him in a little bit too.
Yeah.
Knowing that this is not so secretly a Fox and Marvel co-production, so I think they're trying something out here. And I love the concept. I love Matt Nix. I love Burn Notice, Bryan Singer. Usual Suspects is still a good movie. I don't know how much he actually directed it, but I don't know. I like this episode, guys. Even though I feel like I saw most of it already with all the clips, and I chose to watch all the clips. But dude, there wasn't a lot of new stuff in there.
Speaking of which, we've been talking about a lot of different new series that have been coming on in. We've been talking a lot about sets too and things like that, especially with the Orville and Star Trek Discovery, where the sets have been kind of mediocre. Whereas this one, there's no sets really. I mean, the settings are kind of really bland, but the story actually takes,
it's like that comic artist that doesn't concentrate at all on drawing backgrounds. They just draw the characters and the action really well. And it's like a black background with like starry things. Yeah, I agree, Dennis. Aside from the underground headquarters, which reminded me of the Angel Hotel, there's not a whole lot to speak of. And I liked that it felt kind of like the Angel Hotel, the Angel Investigations. At least to me. And so I agree, Dennis. You're right. The look of it was very just
sparse.
Fox. It just looked like a Fox TV show. But then everything else going on around it, I thought that the effects looked decent. Like I thought the powers looked pretty cool. Although if that blink power has that crackle on it all the time, it's going to get real old. But I did like how everything looks. So yeah, I'd say it looks like a Fox show with some super powered stuff in it, which is interesting. It is what it is.
I like that crackle sound effects that was around her little portal.
It was really loud.
It was. Oh wow! I didn't notice that. It did look like a Bill Sienkiewicz comic. Lots of blotchy blacks, and it was very dark. It was filmed very dark.
Yeah. Yes. But very desaturated.
I
think it made the powers pop because it was so dark and desaturated.
It did, and they needed to because my only complaint, and this is my complaint with everything, so don't feel bad that it's for Gifted, that I'm a costume guy. If you're going to make a superhero thing, I know the X-Men don't do that, and it's always been my biggest complaint about them. It's just people running around with powers. So it's just people saying they're X-Men. But I actually did feel like this was an X-Men show. They did it some justice. It's taken Bryan Singer almost 20 years, but he's getting there, dude, because this franchise is almost 20 years old, which I was thinking about right before the show started. I was going, damn, I cannot believe that. But it did have an Angel feel, like a Buffy Angel feel. And that's the show you want to emulate in the days of everybody trying to make another copy of Game of Thrones. We've got, you got to go back to what really works on TV, which is the Buffy formula. It worked for Doctor Who when they rebooted that, so.
I think
don't
this
know,
show
man.
is going to be a bit of a trendsetter too, because we're about to get Cloak and Dagger, New Warriors, and Runaways, which are all going to be kind of like underground, super powered, on the run shows. And this one's coming first. So I think this is a pretty high bar to set for a premiere for one of these teen or like young adult on the run from the law superhero-y shows, right?
No, I think Freeform's going to be a lot more. It's going to be geared towards teenagers, whereas this one is going to be geared towards more of general audience. So I don't think the kids are going to be the focus of this one, whereas the other ones you mentioned are going to be all kid focused for the most part, or teen
They're still going to be the
focused.
same template. It's like they're borrowing a page out of the Berlanti verse, where we're just going to make the same show 4 times with different people, and we'll mix in variations, but it's it could still work. It obviously works over at the CW. This not comparing this was in one episode, it was deeper than any CW show. So, sorry, there might be some Flash fans who completely disagree with me, and you can do that. That doesn't mean that the Flash is not a
you can
great
send
show.
all your
It is.
complaints over to Gary Buechler.
We'll
Bring
be
it
talking about the
on.
Flash next week, and we'll get into that. But I just before we really dig into this, I want to say, just for all you guys watching and listening, we like to dig in deep here. So we're going to spoil things that you saw. We assume you saw the episode tonight. We're also probably going to spoil a couple things that when we talk about references that they're pulling from comic books and stuff like that. So this really should be maybe not the deepest dive in the world, but it's going to go into things that we're noticing from the comics, reference points, and possible predictions based on those reference points. So I just want to throw that out there at the front end of this, that we are going to be talking about this thing in depth, not just kind of loosely discussing our feelings or reviewing it.
Well said.
Thanks.
So who wants to dive into the episode first?
I'll take the lead here.
So there's a couple. You're the X-Men guy.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the main thing I want to say, is that we talk about a lot of shows here on Nerdrotic. Talk about a lot of this stuff in general. We watch a lot of this stuff. Of the things that I am the biggest fan, the X-Men is that thing. So I am going to be like, yeah. Well, I don't really view that as an X-Men show. It's anyway, but that's probably why I hated it so much. But it's one of those things where I'm going to be more protective of this than anything else, rightfully or wrongfully. And so starting there, I also want to say that I went to school with the girl who plays Blink in this show. And she was friends of a lot of friends of mine. We shared a birthday, so we partied a lot on our birthdays. So I'm also very biased toward liking this actress and kind of having that kind of connection. So the first comic book, the day I met Gary was the day I went looking for X-Men 50 and bought it at his store, which was the first full appearance of Lorna Dane or of Polaris. Lorna Dane previewed in the comic before that in X-Men 49. So I also have deep feelings toward both the Blink character and the Polaris character. So I kind of wanted to throw that right off the bat. And so I guess where I want to dig in on this mostly is, how do you feel they did in capturing the essence of the characters that they decided to tackle? And I think we should start with the Underground Mutants first, and then dig into the Strucker twins, because they're a little bit different, or siblings, because they're a little bit of a stretch, right? But specifically Blink and Polaris, I guess we can start there. How did you guys feel about the adaptation we got tonight?
I don't think that they've really delved into them all that much as of yet, and that I guess you could say the characters, since everyone's kind of on the run, hiding underground, that kind of thing, and they don't have their full use of powers, I guess you could say. Like Blink doesn't have her full use of powers. Polaris really didn't show a lot. I mean, she has some use of her powers, but not a lot. Same thing with Eclipse, Marcos. We saw the most out of him. And then Thunderbirds was kind of not really explained all that well as to what he was doing, as to what his powers were. Same thing with I think Lauren. Lauren Strucker, we got a little bit more of what she was doing with her powers versus Andy, who's just discovered his powers. So everyone's kind of on the lower power scale, I guess you could say, not really fully formed or really knows how to use them well.
Right. What about you, Gary? What did you think about the characterizations here?
Early first impressions, really good. Blink is one of my favorite characters. Even though she was she had no lines in Days of Future Past, I loved the girl who played her and the whole thing. I mean, it was just she wasn't in it for only a few minutes, but I loved it. This was cool. It took me a little while to get used to the eye things, but I got used to them, and she did a very good job. And I'd say that honestly, not just because she's a friend of Jon there. Yeah. But Polaris was my favorite. She seemed to have the most developed powers, and she seemed most like the character. Polaris is a villain. I mean, the interpretation has gotten a lot looser as X-Men go on, but she's a villain, and so they put that into her character. She was slamming that cop, just like, fuck you. And her screaming was rad. And, I can't remember if I mentioned in the pre-production meeting or not. They had her dressed like the Ninth Doctor from Doctor Who. She looked like Chris Eccleston, which was fine. I was afraid they were going to hold back on the powers, and they didn't. They really didn't. I mean, because even Bryan Singer came out and said, I don't want to do your typical superhero show with guys with costumes, which made me go, God damn you, Singer. But I was also worried I was going to hate this like X-Men on the Run again thing, but they did it. They changed it interestingly enough. And her character like set the tone for that in the beginning, and her getting caught, and then the big twist, which we'll get to that in a second. Right. And they set up her relationship with Eclipse really well. I mean, it's a pilot, it's a first episode, so they're never going to be perfect. They're always going to be kind of rushed, and there's weird exposition scenes to go, I am this person with this kind of powers, but I thought they did it really well, so she was my favorite thing in this.
Yes, me too. I like I said, I gravitated toward Polaris and Blink just from the get-go. I was always going to, because they're two of my favorite characters. And what I would say is I didn't think that they were going to go as far with Blink as they did. Like, I thought that they were going to give her vaguely teleportation powers, but they truly gave her, like, I don't know if you guys play the video game Portal, but they basically gave her a portal gun. And that's exactly what her powers are. And I love that they did that. I like that they had the scar marking on her face that she has in the comic books around her eye. I like that they gave her like I wish she were a little pinker, right? They gave her the ears. I did not think that they were going to go that far. And so it was very cool to see them going like as far as they did. I mean, it's not exactly as far as, they could have gone, but it's like this good middle ground. And I also like that the original Blink, right? The original Marvel Blink died in the first miniseries that she appeared in the Marvel universe. The Blink we know is from the Age of Apocalypse universe. And I like that we come into Blink's arc at a point that would be after the point where we meet the original Blink in the comics and before the point where we meet the Age of Apocalypse Blink in the comics, where she's struggling with her power, trying to figure out how it works. Like to Dennis's point, she's not powered up really yet. She's just getting used to it. And I like that we're getting that Blink, because that is genuinely a Blink we haven't seen before. And they're sticking close enough to the characterization that it still feels like that character, but we're meeting her at a point that we haven't seen. So I really love that. And then I also really love what they're doing with the Polaris Eclipse relationship, because Polaris's history in the comic books is that she started dating Bobby Drake early on, Iceman, and then ends up with Havoc. And they have this kind of tumultuous on again, off again relationship because they're both extremely volatile characters. And I like that they've used Iceman and Havoc in the movies, so they couldn't pull those characters into the show, or they didn't pull those characters in the show. So they basically give us Eclipse, who is gonna stand in as Havoc. And I think that that's really interesting, because we see from the previews that there's going to be a love triangle developing.
Three-way?
Yeah, exactly. A three-way developing, which is exactly the Lorna Dane comic book trajectory, right? Like, she's always involved in some sort of a love triangle, and like we're gonna get that again in this show, and we're gonna get it with kind of a Havoc-like character. So I like that they're thinking about these things clearly. They're taking their cues from the source material, which is the thing we always complain the most about, which is you've got all of this stuff to work with. like use it. Like you don't have to give us exactly it, but take the good stuff, right? And it feels like that's what this show is doing.
Well, you know, when you take the good and you take the bad.
Oh, Kim Fields is not. Wait, right? Kim Fields. Yeah.
So, I mean, really quick, they mentioned the X-Men, which I was afraid they weren't going to do. They actually mentioned the X-Men and the Brotherhood, which I think they did in a clip. So I think I actually knew they were going to mention that. But I like to think we're at a point that like them, you mentioned the X-Men disappeared. I like to, pretend that maybe they're in space right now. Maybe they're fighting the Brood. Maybe we're actually going to get that at some point.
There was the Shi'ar out there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I that's where I'd like to think they are right now. And
aren't they in some kind of mystical dome? Well, speaking of which, we were talking about this in our pre-production meeting. As Bryan Singer really loves to use the comic God Loves, Man Kills.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much at that point just after the tumultuous where the X-Men die publicly on TV, die being in quotation marks, right, when actually they are transported to, is it the Savage Land or I can't remember exactly where they end up being.
That storyline in the comics like 3 times now. I never remember which one is which, but yes, in one of them they do end up in the Savage Land. So
yeah, so. And they're underneath some kind of technological shield that shields them from any kind of bioscans or anything like that. Yeah, and that's where they're at right now, supposedly, in this universe.
Okay, interesting.
So
yeah, I was wondering where the continuity
that somewhere, or is that just your best educated guess?
That's my best educated guess as a nerd.
Yeah, I mean, they're also drawing, and we talked about this in the pre-production meeting as well, but they're also drawing, to my estimation, on both Days of Future Past and Age of Apocalypse. And I think that's what's the great thing about TV is it gives you a longer time to work with. And so like all the cool stuff that they leave out of the movies, they're putting in this show. It seems like the Days of Future Past that I like is like this scrappy group of mutants where the X-Men disappear and it's these other people and they're trying to deal with the Sentinels trying to hunt them down. Right. And it seems like that's exactly what we're getting from this show.
That's what I think they're drawing from. I mean,
yeah. I think that's where we're going. And so, yeah, they think they disappeared or they're dead. But to me, it seems like the cool stuff from Days of Future Past. And man, Sentinels in the first episode, like, fuck, man, like that is so cool. Like I didn't even know, like I was saying before, I did not pay attention. I saw the clips on TV. I saw the posters, but I didn't really dig into it much. I wanted to be as unspoiled as I possibly could be. And so I've seen all the images from the commercials, but I didn't know we were going to get like the Sentinels as this government organization and like the underground mutants hanging out in this like lair. Like, it's cool. I like that they're doing all this stuff. To me, it's really fun.
And we got Spider Slayers. I mean, yeah, the Spider Slayers. That was cool. Didn't see that one coming. No, those were actually cool. And I like the Sentinel organization.
Yes,
that makes way more sense. I'm not entirely sure how does this tie in to the movie universe, or is this something that's with Legion, or is this something completely on its own? Has Bryan Singer or Matt Nix come out and said anything?
It's in the movie universe.
It's in the movie universe. So it's happening in the movie universe.
Yeah, the universe has such continuity problems, but they do say it takes place in that universe.
Okay, so and Legion does too. So this could potentially cross over to Legion. It could. They probably won't. That would be, I don't know, just rad and make money, but whatever. It's Fox. Right. Hey, what do you think the chances are? I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but it's on my brain. I don't want to forget that this gets moved to FX.
It depends on how successful it is. Yeah, Fox is struggle. Like Fox needs some hits. I think this could be a hit. I think the quality is up there. I think the branding is there. So I think that if it does well, it's staying right where it is. The only reason it would pull a Supergirl is if viewership dropped off. Do you agree, Dennis?
Well, first of all, it's on Monday nights right now. And does Fox have ABC has Monday Night Football, correct?
Yeah.
No, Monday Night Football. NBC has Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football is on ESHPN.
Okay.
Sorry, tick referencing.
So yeah, I don't think we're gonna have to worry too much, considering what's going on with the NFL right now. The ratings are going to be dropping. I think it's actually a safe night to put it on Monday night. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, no, it's showing some faith in the show, and you're right. I think it is a good landing spot. I mean, it's up against The Voice, which is a hard show to beat just in viewers, but I think they're going for a different. I think they're smart in that they're going for a different viewership.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, when you're going up against something like The Voice, Doctor Who goes up against something very similar. I forgot what the show is, Britain's Got Talent or something like that. And what they do is they don't go out to beat it. They go out to get everybody else.
yeah,
Because there's enough of everybody else who don't like those, who want fandom genre stuff.
Yep.
And
they don't watch reality TV, reality.
I mean, I'm going to throw this out there. This is the best. This to me is the best, just straight up superhero show on TV so far, or the best superhero premiere I've seen in a very long time. I think Legion is probably a higher quality show, but I don't really view that as like a superhero show. It's more like a trippy experimental TV show, in my opinion. Like, this is the more straight up like comic booky, like the best just straight up team comic book show out there.
No, Supergirl still for comic book.
Oh, there's no way. I'll fight you on this
high.
one. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about flat out comic book, like comic book moments and things like that.
High.
Not high. No,
fucking high.
Come on, Kellex. For God's sake.
I'm not even saying I don't like
it. Just because you put a
bunch
bunch of superhero stuff, it doesn't make it the best superhero. It has the most maybe, and does the most pining off of stuff, and brought in Superman.
I would even say Flash is better, closer to that.
Flash's premiere was pretty damn good. You know what? Arrow's premiere was good. People want to shit on it, but you got a verse because of that thing. So,
this was the show I've enjoyed, like on both levels in a while, right? Like on a, hey, this is a really good TV show, and hey, this is a really good superhero show, right? So I don't know. I feel like it has some real promise, and I'm just going to go out on that limb and say, like, this is a high bar for a lot of these other shows to have to come and meet.
Yeah, it's because this is almost in a different element than the CW shows.
Sure.
Okay. Not by much, but to me, it's in a different element, and that's really apples and oranges comparing it to CW stuff. As far as comic book, yeah, you got to go with Flash.
You still think the Flash is better?
I think the Flash is a better premiere. That was pretty damn good, and it was very comic booky.
But that's what, 4 years ago. That's 3 years,
That's true.
That's 4 years ago. Like,
Legion was good too, and I did you watch it all the way through, John?
Yeah, I watched the whole season.
It gets pretty comic booky at the end.
Yes, it has its moments, right? But I'm more just talking. Anyway, yes, it could definitely be argued. Legion's a better TV show, production wise, value wise, acting wise, script wise.
But that's not fair. I mean, it's like we're one episode.
It's such a different.
So, like,
this was, and it's very different.
Yeah.
But that's great. Both of them are X-Men shows. I mean, come on, like, they're doing a good job with this universe.
I think the future is bright for the X-Men if they just pry freaking Bryan Singer out of it, please.
Yeah,
because Legion's good, Logan was good, Deadpool. There's a lot of great shit going on. Just get Singer out there.
So Gary, I want to talk a little bit about the Struckers, who are the other center. We've got the underground
Struckers.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to know how they're able to use these guys when Marvel Studios still owns Von Strucker. They just take the Von away. They rename the twins from Andrea and Andres to Andy and Lauren, right? And now all of a sudden they can use it. Like, it seems very crazy that they can have these characters in this universe like this.
I think it falls under the same thing as Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I think it's the same thing. It's in a gray area, and they've just agreed not to sue each other and said you could both use them. I mean, well, that's what I think. I don't know for a fact.
I read something that these are not the Von Struckers per se.
Well, they're not.
They just called it. Yes, they're called Strucker. They have similar powers.
My point.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So they said they went and go. They're not the Von Struckers.
This
They're
is
the
pretty
instead
much.
of Iceman, this is
Yeah.
Cold
that's
Man.
fucking lawyer IP speak.
Yeah.
They're the fucking Von Struckers, okay? Like,
I know
stop.
it, you know it, but that's what they were saying officially. That
Old
yes.
Man Rogan, he's only got 2 claws, and he doesn't
exactly.
heal quite as fast. Like, come on, like, what kind of trick is this?
Yeah.
I think the legal team is on it, right? Like, this
Yeah.
is weird to me that they're even like ballsy enough to try. Like, couldn't they just call them? So, like, couldn't it have been like Stryker and the kids instead of Strucker, and then it's the Stryker family, which would make way more sense.
Well, then you have the whole Stryker thing from, it's still part of that X-Men
Right.
universe. Yeah. So
Yeah, he could be like his cousin. It could be the other Stryker, his cousin, who has 2 mutant kids. Like, it makes even more sense to do.
Earl Stryker.
Yeah, Earl. Yeah, Earl Stryker is way better than whatever Reed Strucker. Like, it seems like they could do that way instead.
Fucking
on,
intellectual
Fox.
property law. Is there
You should
anything?
just call him Smucker.
Yeah,
Is there anything more murky besides, I don't know, Hollywood accounting and intellectual
Hollywood
property law?
accounting, IP.
Yeah, that is.
What was your favorite Easter egg, Dennis? I know you're itching to talk about these.
There's a couple different Easter eggs that just made me laugh. I mean,
Yep.
I'm going to go in order of from least to best. So we had them going into Texas Lounge, them being Reed and he's meeting Eclipse into Texas Lounge, and we get this little close up of a velvet painting of a Wolverine, an actual Wolverine painted on velvet, which I thought was kind of funny. Got that little moment there.
70s Wolverine.
Yeah, the 70s Wolverine. Then we also got an X-Men cartoon. The X-Men cartoon had the music. We had a little ringtone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
kind of.
loved that little moment. I love because they did it just enough that if you know it, you know it, and if you don't, it'll go over your head because they didn't play. They only played it for like a split second, and I was like, "Oh my god, they used the old '90s."
They just got the da-da-da-da-da-da. That was it.
Yeah, it didn't even get to the da da, just da 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 da, and then he picked up, and it was like, "Oh, that's great."
And then my favorite, of course, and it's a small one. I mean, if you blinked, you would have missed it. When Andy's testing out his powers on the vending machine, in the top row, there's Hostess fruit pies.
So what is that reference to, if anyone?
That's the old Marvel comics. They used to do Hostess fruit pies commercials, a one-page,
a little one-page ad.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Go back and read. Have more story content than the actual comics today. Sorry.
Yeah, they do. And pretty much what it was the villain was always trying to steal the Hostess fruit pies, or they would try and do some kind of villainous thing, and they'd always get thwarted by the hero using the Hostess fruit pies. So I just thought it was funny that it was there, that they were inside the vending machine.
It was Twinkies too.
There was
Yeah,
Twinkies
lots
in
of
there too.
Hostesses.
Yeah, Hulk had a Twinkie one.
Yes.
I have a question for you. What the fuck kind of motel doesn't like? They slept there after they exploded the vending machine. Like, nobody noticed the exploding vending machine. Nobody questioned them about it. You'd think they'd have to get the hell out of there after they explode a vending
Remember, they walked quite a ways down, and it looks like they walked into the back area or something like that, and whatever exploded.
away.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're just kind of like, run, get out of here.
What were they letting the kids walk? Oh, kids, go take a walk. We're on the lam, but go ahead, have a little. Hell no.
Especially when
use your
Reed,
powers.
yeah, when Reed knows enough that they have, drones up there that can spot them and stuff like that. He knows all their procedures.
Yeah.
So what the hell was he thinking? Yeah, that was one thing.
But
I didn't love
that might be an accurate portrayal of a family kind of freaked out who's not used to this shit, just being stupid.
I loved the car ride afterwards when the kids are arguing in the back seat. And you see the dad who's like, "Oh, yeah," the dad's having like, "Oh, this is a nice normal moment before everything gets ripped apart," and the mom's freaking out because she's like, "Yeah, I loved it. I loved that moment for sure."
One thing we're missing from the pilot, or from the promos, I guess you could say, is Lorna Dane in that plastic bag with the tube going into the plastic bag, kind of like, like a fly. Luckily, we didn't have to deal with any of that. And we actually had her in a plastic box instead.
A little Magneto box.
Yeah, a little Magneto
maybe
box.
they pulled it from a different episode where, we're not out of the woods yet, guys. She's still captured, but yes, you're correct.
Yeah. Maybe it's another episode. Yeah. We also had our big Carrie moment at the high school. with the kid being bullied and freaking out everybody at the dance and stuff. I just thought of Carrie immediately, which I'm sure everybody did, and I think that was the whole point. But you know what, the use of his power, that was the one cool thing. Like, they went all in on that whole high school gym scene. That looked pretty good for TV.
Great.
I was pretty impressed with that. And the douchey kid.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I think those two kids, these newcomers, I mean, they're not kids, they're probably like 25, but the people, the young adults playing the Strucker, I keep wanting to call them twins, but the Strucker siblings, they're pretty good. Like, I thought that they handled their roles really well in this. She's probably a little stronger than he is as an actor, but yeah, no, I liked them as kind of
very
leading.
Good.
Yeah,
they were very good. They could have been your typical first series. I don't know if this might not be the first series, but just another pretty face on Fox. But I liked her force field that looked like those 70s glass things. All it need to be was like a dingy yellow. It had the little ball. You're too young,
bubbles.
but Dennis remembers. He's old like me. Yeah, the little bubbles that I had one of those in my house. I'm like, she's 70s glass girl. That's her mutant power. Is she going to shoot out some shag rug too? Sorry, everybody over 45 will get that joke.
I'm not going there.
Whoa. I wasn't going there. God, you guys are.
We always have to take it there.
Shut the fuck up. It's a family show.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
I did like the kind of bubble effect. I guess you could say bubble wrap.
So what are their powers? They can bring molecules together and force molecules apart?
Well, she was saying that she can bunch air together, or she can bunch water together, which is a little harder for her. So basically what she's doing is she's kind of creating, she's making stuff denser. So she's
slowing down molecules, and he's speeding up.
Bunching them together.
Anything with mass making it more solid or something, that's pretty good power.
It's great power.
Yeah. And
any manipulation over like a molecular level is always a good, thing. Polaris has the same thing. I wonder if they're related.
I love how like there's a couple of almost level 5s, not level 4 mutants. They always want to, on TV shows, they always want to hold back a little bit, and then there's really glad they didn't. And then there's Thunderbird. Well, spoiler alert, he's gonna die, right? I mean, he dies in everything.
I don't know. I think he's around for the long haul. He's their Cerebro, right? Like, he's the one that's gonna be finding all the mutants for this underground ragtag team they're putting together.
Yeah,
right. It is.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There are a couple other. I was looking ahead, and I see some of the other mutants that are coming in. But
who else is coming in?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
So now I'm kind of off it. I just want to let you know, John, that the woman who plays Lauren, she was on One Tree Hill for a long time. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason why you like her so much.
I love that series. Yeah, it probably is why I like her. I wonder who she is.
I've never seen it. So what mutants are coming, Dennis?
Hang on just a moment. I'm coming back to it. I have to get back to my page that I was on and
prep for the show there. Buddy.
I know. Sage. We're going to have Sage.
Well, she was there for a second.
Yeah. We're also going to have Shatter.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yep.
And of course we're going to see Tex from Tex's Lounge.
Huh. Okay. I wonder if we're going to get any more than that. Like, I feel like they're playing, like Gary said, on a different level than I think we originally assumed. Like, we're getting Polaris and Blink and Thunderbird and Havoc. I mean, Eclipse. So yeah, or maybe he's more like Sunspot. I don't know. But I wonder if we're going to get some of these big names in here at some point. Big name mutants, I should say.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it, because it's supposed to be everyone's gone. X-Men are gone. Brotherhood are gone. What's left over? What I would like to see, quite honestly, is having maybe the Morlocks. Bringing some of the Morlocks in.
That'd be cool, but I mean, they'll have to do it. I think they're going to sprinkle them in. I mean, you can't. You'll get awfully lame that both the Brotherhood and the X-Men are gone. Well, then mutant problem solved. I mean, what the fuck? I think we're gonna hear about them at some point. I think I would love to see some Generation X guys come in or some skin or something like that. That would be cool. I mean, you don't have to make them big. Yeah. But
well, they haven't done Jubilee successfully in the movies. They could totally bring a Jubilee into this show and have it be super successful. I think that people have been itching for her, and this show's like perfect for a Jubilee.
I think more likely Hulu might be using her for Runaways.
Oh, really?
I could see her going in there.
No, they're not doing any X-Men or anything in Runaways. It's they're not doing any other Marvel characters than the Runaways, which kind of sucks because they don't own anything. The charm.
Else. They could bring the Avengers in, but they couldn't bring the X-Men or Fantastic Four or Spider-Man.
Maybe they can bring in. I don't know if you'll recognize this figure because it's a horrible figure of him, but
Multiple Man.
Yeah, little Jamie Madrox, man.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go. I know. Did he ever wear this costume? Please correct me, X-Men's, or is this just one of those evil Toy Biz repaints?
No, he wore that costume in the 90s.
Dude,
that
is costume. Serious love for the X-Men. He put it right in his head right there.
Yep, that was during the Image boom in the 90s. So, another question for you guys: where do you see this going? Do you think that Reed is basically going to be running the Lorna Dane mission with the Sentinel crew, or do you think he's going to get reunited with his family? Do you think they're going to actually try to go on the run, or they're set up shop and they're just going to build force and go after the government? Like, how do you see this playing out?
Well, Reed, we saw, was captured, and we saw in the preview for next week, he's in a cell right next to Lorna.
Right.
And so he's going to be working with her pretty much, trying to get out.
I wondered for a minute, like, if he was like going undercover and this was all like he was actually going to turn on his family at a certain point, but no, they didn't go that direction.
No, it's Bryan Singer. That's too deep.
Yeah, too deep.
You'd have to be quite a sociopath, which I guess he could be secretly. That'd be interesting. That'd be definitely interesting. But
I thought they were going to go like the Mastermind way, where the dad was going to be like embarrassed of the kids and like lock them up and experiment on them. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I thought we were going with this.
Well, I mean, I always kind of see Moyer as a villain. I know he plays like good guys and stuff, but I think he would actually be a better villain guy. I think he's going to be just the dumb dad who tries, or the doting dad. I hope he's not dumb. There's too many dumb dads on TV.
He's pretty stupid so far.
Well, he's just doing I don't know, how stupid is he? He saved his kids.
Well, no, he's very naive about it. I mean, he's working for this whole Sentinel thing, and I mean, they're letting the kids go out in the daytime.
I'm with Dennis on this. He should have locked it down at that point.
I agree. I brought it up. Yes, that was pretty stupid. But
they somehow tracked him there, and he doesn't know how.
Because he's a lawyer and he's a prosecutor doesn't mean he's fucking street smart and knows about that shit. I mean, he's aware of the Sentinel program, but he still believes in the whole system and anything. And he hasn't seen some of the shit some of us have seen. Know that they're all full of shit. So I don't know.
He even says to his wife in the diner, he says, this one family that the Sentinels program went after, they disappeared. And he was talking about all these tactics that they were using, and he was like, oh my God, we need to leave now. So he was smart then, and then all of a sudden he got really stupid right after that when they went to the hotel.
Might be the writing.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
Or, that's people make mistakes, even smart ones. They get emotional, That's why you don't make policy with passion.
I am really excited for the show. We are also covering a ton of other shows over here at Nerdrotic. First of all, we are talking about Star Trek every week on CBS All Access. You guys are going to be covering Mr. Robot starting Wednesday?
Dude,
the 11th.
On the 11th? Oh, next Wednesday? We got Mr. Robot coming up. We're covering all the CW superhero shows. We'll be recording those on Friday nights. And we've also got our Inhumans roast or review on Fridays. So you guys are also going to be recording the Nerdrotic News show later on, or did you already record that this evening? Yeah, so
Already
you've
did
got
it.
that to check out. That was recorded earlier today. So those are the shows we're covering early in the fall. We're going to be adding Runaways and Happy and a few other things come later in the fall, as well as the important geek movies that are going to launch. So please subscribe to us on YouTunes and hit the little alerts button right next to the subscribe so you get all of our live shows as they get released. You can also hear us in audio only if you don't want to have to look at these mugs for an entire hour. You can do that at podcast or on SoundCloud. We're the Nerdrotic Podcast there as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Nerdrotics. That's with an S. I'm at Jon Reed 16. Dennis is at DeForce. And you can also follow us on Instagram. We're Nerdrotic on Instagram. Oh, yes. And if you want to get all of our news updates and reactions in real time, as well as some exclusive shows we're going to be doing on Facebook only, please find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdrotic podcast. There's going to be a lot of exclusive stuff coming there as we get into the CW shows and some other book club and feedback type shows that we want to do on Facebook and make use of that platform. So check us out there, facebook.com/nerdrotic podcast. Yeah,
Great.
Want to do some final thoughts on The Gifted before?
I will start that I'm very excited. I thought this would be mediocre. I didn't think it would be bad, but I was very pleased with it. It went really fast. I wanted more, which you always want to leave them wanting more. And I know you have to go through this on the run thing, and I'll be totally cool with it this season, but I really want to, what I'm looking forward to is this show. I want it to stick because this show, will by season 3, this will be a kick-ass show with a bunch of different mutants in it. And they'll be doing a bunch of fun things. But great start. I hope they keep it up. I have faith in Matt Nix, and we survived Bryan Singer's episode, so hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they have. I mean, it was a good start. And I just want to see if they're actually going to keep this up and keep the energy going.
I agree. And I want to second what Gary said. I can't wait till we get into later seasons of this show. I'm praying that it sticks around long enough for us to see them bring in some really interesting villains along with the Sentinel threat that's always going to be hanging over them. I think there's some really cool things you can do with tweaking the cast of characters, especially by bringing in interesting villains or making some of our heroes villains themselves. So, it would be really cool to get to that point. I hope the show does. I'm very happy with where it is now, and if they can keep up this level of quality in this show for the rest of the season, I think this is going to be a really fun season. Last thing I just want to mention is I'm doing a little bit of work over at Post Show Recaps, so I'll be covering The Gifted over there tomorrow. If you want to check that out, it's at Post Show Recaps, and I'll do some shout outs to you guys and maybe take some of these inside jokes over
there. Rob? Yeah, dude, it was a crazy day today.
We did forget one thing.
Oh yeah, what's up?
We forgot Stan Lee's cameo.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
This was one of the more benign ones. He walked out a door.
Walked through a door.
He walked through a door. Yeah.
Was that part of he filmed a bunch at once? I heard. I wonder if that was part of it.
Is he in every episode?
That would be a commitment, but that was rad. That was rad to see Stan. I also wanted to bring up that the nerdrotic.com store is opening up in 1 week. It's going to be modest at first, but it's opening up at 1 week. Think of it as kind of an eBay store. And most of the proceeds will be going to support this channel and nerdrotic.com, which we've never begged for money before. And right now we're not begging for any. We're just begging for your undying love and subscriptions.
And to take a look at the store and buy things you want.
Yeah. There'll be some cool stuff. There's going to be some merchandise, some Nerdrotic stuff, but there's also going to be vintage action figures and comic books and really cool stuff, kind of like a comic shop, but online with a podcast. Yep.
And I guess I will add one other thing. We urge you guys to tweet at us. Again, I'm at Jon Reed 16. Dennis is at DeForce. Gary is at Nerdrotics. We like to talk about a lot of stuff. It could be fantasy hockey. It could be your favorite comic book. It could be what's going on in movies. It can be behind the scenes in Hollywood. Hell, it can even be politics. We like all sorts of stuff. So tweet at us, talk to us. We may, if it's something we don't want to really dig into, we'll be polite about it. But otherwise, we just want to hear from you.
I don't do politics online.
Okay. Gary does not do politics online.
These guys can. That's totally fine. But I got a couple of
Politics,
to worry
sports, and
about.
religion. Those are the three things I won't argue with you on.
John, well, I don't tell them what to do, but yeah, take us out, Dennis.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Bye, everybody.
Night.
Bye, Tom. We love you, Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.